You're listening to the New Old Heads podcast, shot live every Tuesday at twitch.tv/newoldheads and released every Thursday at noon via bringingdowntheband.com. The show is brought to you by Coleman Dental, Printfinity, Indie CD and Vinyl. Support the show directly by becoming a member at patreon.com/newoldheads.
You are now tuned into the New Old Heads podcast. The crew is here, starting off with my man Jay Moore. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. You know, hockey jersey weather is quickly coming upon us, and you know, I've got a few new joints that I'll be debuting. You know, that's the weird thing is like sometimes I have to look at like the thumbnails of the show. Yeah. Make sure I don't do repeat.
You know, man.
Teams. I'll be like,
you do an episode once a week. You know.
I know, but sometimes you know, like you know how you have your favorients.
Oh yeah.
And you just be like, oh, let me just throw this on. You realize, well, I wore that last week.
Apparently, people. We'll talk about that. I guess a little bit, you know, in the pre-show. But people been watching. They still watching. So I don't know, man. You might have to adjust it a little bit because apparently people watching. My man Lonegevity is in the building. How are you, sir?
Doing all right. Thanks for asking.
Glad I could ask.
Just over here living, man.
Hey, man, live. That's what we want, man. Live. Yeah. The goal is to get old.
Indeed.
Yeah,
that is the goal.
My man, DJ Jay Diff. What's happening, man?
Salutations. What's happening?
Oh, man, I can't call it. Same old, same old. Everything good your way?
Yeah, man, pretty much. You know.
Yeah. Famous,
shout out to Nas.
Shout out to Nas. Yeah, Nas made an announcement, man. Talk about that a little bit in here in a little bit. Chat ain't loaded yet, but I'm sure they'll be coming in shortly. So, gentlemen, how's everything? Did anybody see anything since we last met?
The elephant in the room? Maybe.
Tell you what, man. A lot of resume boosters. We've had some resume boosters over the past month and some change.
I guess that you want to call it that.
That we know of.
That we know of. Yeah. There could be some more out there that we have not been aware of or been put on game for. But looks like HBO Max, or is it Max now? Is it just Max?
It's just Max. Okay, it's just Max.
Looks like we popped up in another documentary again, and good crispy shot of Terry, and Terry was talking eloquently on his comment about, I believe it was Meg again, or this was Tory Lanez this time, I'm sorry. Yeah, man, people are paying attention to us because that's 2 in 1 month.
Yeah, you know, once again, be nice if somebody reached out.
Wouldn't that be nice?
A little credit here and there.
You know.
Yeah. All right, so Nas has announced that he is going to do Magic 3. So we got King's Disease, August 2020, King's Disease 2, August 2021, Magic, December 2021, KD 3, November 2022, Magic 2, 2023, and Magic 3 on his birthday, September of 2023. We are witnessing greatness is what one of the posts says, but I'm not seeing people that I talk to be as excited. I'm seeing more of this relationship has run its course in terms of Nas and Hit Boy. How do we think this collaborative phase will be looked at overall when it's done? Because it started off with the first two, I'm like, these dudes can do this in their sleep. But gradually, as we continue to get down around Magic 1, King Disease 3, I started seeing people's opinions change a little bit. So how do you all think this not trilogy, but this series will be looked at? Because I'm hearing 50-50 on expectations.
I think it's because people got used to it.
Okay.
And we've talked about this before as far as Nas and his beat selection. Now you can't really make that argument with him anymore. He found a pocket that he was able to work in and maneuver, and he kept dropping songs, and Hit Boy kept coming with beats for him, and it just felt right. And I think it's actually a good thing that they feel like that it's run its course so that it doesn't continue to get stale, so to speak. So
do you think, so you're saying so it doesn't continue to get stale?
Right. Well,
you don't think it's stale, already stale?
No, I don't really think it's stale, but okay. I think it's like bowing out at the right time to move on to a different maybe style or energy. You know what I'm saying? To continue, because he's talking about, he never said anything about retiring.
Right.
He's just pretty much like the curtain's coming down on this era with me and Hit Boy. And now I feel like I need to do something else. And also it kind of, to me, it kind of soured it a little bit because everybody was taking Hit Boy trying to do the same thing.
That's a good point.
Nobody caught the same fire or energy that Nas did with Hit Boy, because Game had a whole album with Hit Boy. Who else?
Big Sean.
Big Sean.
There were a couple of projects.
Music Soul Child did a Hit Boy album.
Yep.
There's a lot of people been trying to use that same formula, but it's not working the same way that it
Hit
did.
Boy been working.
He's been working. I mean, he put out an album with his dad who just got out of prison.
Big hit.
Yeah.
Kudos to him for getting that work from a production standpoint.
Definitely.
But I see your point about people trying to maybe jump on that wave.
Yeah.
See if they could, get lightning in
It
the
was
bottle.
time for Nas to exit stage left and figure something else out.
Jay Moore, you spoke highly of Magic 1, I remember.
I spoke highly of Magic too.
Of 2 as well. Thank you for correcting me. Both of them. Is this the right time?
As highly as I spoke of Magic 2, I said, okay, I want to hear Nas over somebody else's production. So, I mean, I'm still going to run Magic 3. I'm excited to hear it. But, I'll be honest, if Magic 2 would have been the end of the 5-album run,
Been good with
I'd
that.
have been good, because at the same time, I'm like, I want to hear Nas with some of his original collaborators, some new people. Because none of these records are bad.
No.
Right.
Not of the 5. There's not one where you can be like, there's not one where you can say that about. It's just now I want to hear, and the thing is, Hit Boy has some joints that stand out. So like Car 85 might be my favorite, and the one that has the 5 heartbeat sample off of the King's Disease 3. And even Brunch on Sundays and Bokeem Woodbine. Like there are records that I remember and have.
The joint with Lauryn Hill is fire.
Yeah. EPMD with even though I was calling Eminem verse.
EPMD did their thing on that one though.
Yeah, exactly. And so like there are plenty of memorable moments to go through these 5 albums that we already have. It's just I was like, okay, I'm good. I might have to eat all my words when Magic 3 hits. Because I remember when Magic 2 hit, like it was like a week before Christmas. I was like, oh, perfect.
Right.
Ran that the whole Christmas holiday like I was 19 or something.
I mean, but what's at this point? Okay, so the Hit Boy phase is over. I don't know what's left. Not saying that I want him to retire.
That remains to be seen. I mean,
I just don't know what direction. What would the pivot be now?
Do that premiere album we've been hearing about since Scratch Magazine was.
I don't think we're gonna get that.
I'm not even. I'm not holding my breath on that one. If it happens, it happens.
Where's that track he did with Dr. Dre that everyone's watched the video?
That's not gonna happen either.
That seems like a finished song.
That's not gonna happen either.
Yeah.
That's pie in the sky on those 2.
He probably got a whole album with Dre and we're just never gonna hear it.
Probably do.
I don't know, man. I'm to the point now where I'm going to run it, but I'm just being honest. My anticipation and my curiosity is not there like it's been, especially for the first 2, especially the first and second one, and maybe the first Magic. I was all in on anticipation and wanting to see what direction they were going. Now it's kind of like, all right, I'll run it and we'll see what happens.
So do you think that's kind of being a selfish fan because now you're used to it, and now just because you know that it's going to happen, you just be like, I don't really care. Because if it wasn't happening, then you would be up in arms about it. You feel me?
I wouldn't.
That's
You don't really like Nas though.
I know.
been my theme for a while.
And you ain't the only person I know that don't really rock with Nas. But
True.
as somebody that listens to Nas,
Yeah, I fool with Nas.
it doesn't matter if he drops a dud. I'm still gonna listen to it.
If he
It's
drops
like,
a dud, I'm gonna let y'all know though.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you know.
I mean,
same way with Jay, same way with Kendrick, same way with Cole, same way with Drake. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that drops something,
Right.
I'm gonna listen to it, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. But at the same time, I look forward to these releases from anybody that is still doing their craft at a high level. That's just how I am personally.
I think I'm not. I see what you're saying about the maybe sometimes we take it for granted, but coming off the last one kind of curved my anticipation because as we talked about, I thought the last one was cool. So coming off that one, coming into this one, the anticipation is not there. Of course, I rock with Nas.
But you're gonna run it as soon as it drops, right?
I'm gonna run it, but I'm not gonna run it like I have to go run this right now.
I mean, I ran the Games album.
I ran that and got tired because it was 65 tracks. And it wasn't really going.
I mean,
anywhere.
I didn't revisit it after we talked about it.
Me
'cause
neither.
I had no reason to.
Go ahead, Lone.
Is there any difference from this Nas and Hit Boy releasing like this string of like 6 projects today in 2023, in the latter, in the digital world versus if he would have dropped these 6 albums in the mid 90s? Do you think we would still be tired? And I say we in general. I think Nas is super talented, but I'm typically kind of bored by Nas in general. But he is super talented, and his records that he has been putting out, I think they're all good for the most part. But I wonder how much it plays into like just familiarity with these two.
And in the eras that we're in,
and in like the digital era that we're in as well, because I don't know if like this would this still be the same type of conversation if this was going on from 97 to 2003?
I don't think it would be the same, and here's why.
He'd be asking for another $12.99.
Well, that part, just that part, but also accessibility or lack thereof back then. So I think each project would have been, the relationship that we would have had with those projects back then would have been different because we couldn't just get to them so easily. So maybe they would have meant more if they dropped 3 or 4 or 5 of those back in the 90s versus now where you can just roll out of bed and get access to an album and just go with it.
And maybe that's my part
You know what
of
I'm
it
saying?
too, because I was a fan of Nas's stuff back then, but his newer stuff after the first one, really, I was just like, all right, cool, I heard it, you know, and everything kind of seems very similar. I don't know. So my gauge on a lot of this stuff is very, you know, fickle in that manner.
I mean, like we've all alluded to, we're honest. We're honest as it relates to, you know, any artist that we talk about from a project standpoint. We've praised Nas and we've said that ain't it. So it's going to happen. Like that happens. But
I don't even think that my opinion on Nas really truly matters because I'm not a huge fan like everybody else. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I got you.
Like,
I got you.
You guys are like real Nas fans.
I fool with Nas.
I like when I see a video come across or a single drop out, I listen to it and be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, but it never is like, oh man, I need to go check this out. Like he's not that artist for me. So like it's hard for me to have that.
I'm definitely rocking with any Nas product. As far as being excited about it.
Right.
I mean, I don't have any feeling. It's more so as soon as it drops, I'm gonna listen to it.
Right.
I'm not gonna say that I'm not looking forward to it or based off the last project. I'm just not really feeling it or excited to hear it. I'm gonna listen regardless.
I can't cap though. I was very excited and had a lot of anticipation for King's Disease, the first one. I'm not gonna hold you. I was extremely excited. I wanted to see how this would sound because, like, we always talk about the beats and what's technically been the crutch or whatever you want to call it. Achilles heel. Thank you. But Nas, I'm like, okay, man, if he gets with hit, it's gonna be crazy. So I could not wait to hear that first one.
I think part of it too that I'm speaking on is I feel like he's been consistent in the last few years of just giving us stuff pretty regularly.
True.
And maybe it's just too much for an artist.
I can understand
for
that.
an artist like him. You know, like if you're somebody who's bubbling, who you're still trying to find people, you know, like there's no like creation of anticipation because it just dropped and then now we're dropping another one. Like if Jay-Z announces something, we're going to be more excited as Jay-Z
because
fans.
there's a lapse and it's like
it's been a minute. You know, same with like Kendrick. When Kendrick came back after like 5 years, it's like, okay, it's been a minute. I'm ready to hear what he's been going through in life.
True.
You know what I mean?
I think what works for Nas though is scratching the older hip hop heads pretty much desire to hear something that they're used to.
Agreed.
Versus everything that you're hearing on the radio or social media even. Because I mean these younger artists are putting out stuff the same exact way. Like NBA Youngboy there's always something new that comes from him. And how they consume it is a lot different than how we consumed it.
For sure.
And I think it's just Nas is capitalizing on his desire to create. And he's in that pocket and he keeps doing it. I see what you're saying, but at the same token, I don't see anything wrong with it because at the end of the day,
I don't think there's anything wrong
there's
with
gonna
it.
there's gonna be a time where we look back on this era and you can piece together whatever you decide was good out of that. I can rock with all of it mostly, but I don't know. I'm still looking forward to a Nas release, whether it's next week or in 3 years from now.
I can dig it.
Because remember the track Nas album Done?
Yes.
And the album never came out?
Yes.
Yeah, it took forever for us.
And
to
that
get,
record was fire. Yes.
Yeah, that song was fire.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, there was no record.
Yeah, that song was fire. Agree. Yeah, because that was on.
It was on a Khaled album.
Khaled. That's I didn't want to make the misconception say that Khaled album.
He always
was fire.
has like 3 standouts on the Khaled album.
Out of 27
18
records.
songs.
Yeah, and 65 features.
We the best though.
I guess. But
Some of those mysterious albums.
Hey, I'm looking forward to a Chance the Rapper album.
Are you?
Yeah.
I am.
I'm not.
Not Chance. I'm sorry.
Tyler the Creator.
Tyler the Creator.
Okay, I was
full
about
with
to
Chance,
say.
actually.
Yeah.
Big difference there.
Yeah,
big difference.
I'm not.
Now that I will be looking forward to for real. I can't wait to see what's direction.
But it's
he's
also
going.
Tyler's going to give us something different. We know that.
True.
Yeah.
You know, that's
I think he's to the point now where he's one of those. I always this is old, but I always use them as an analogy. It's like Outkast and Organized Noise. No matter what direction they go, you have faith that it's going to land. It's going to be successful. Now it might be different. It's going to sound different from the last one. I think he's to that point now. I don't know what direction he's going to go in. I just have a strong feeling that it's going to be fire.
I think the older that I get to and I always allude to being a blogger for a long time outside of being a musician and all that stuff. But like, I heard a lot of music, and there's something to be said about when I listen to stuff, I do typically get bored really easily. And for me specifically, personally, like I nowadays value when an artist does kind of go left and can succeed at it way more than being consistent at something they've done in the past.
So you're a Yachty fan?
No. But his last record, I can appreciate what he tried. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is like, that's part of it with the Nas thing. Like I kind of already know what I'm going to get from him as opposed. So it's like, I could listen to it real quick and I kind of be done versus somebody like a Tyler or somebody even like a Kendrick or something, you know. It's just like I want to be with my consumption. Like I almost like feel like I need that extra dopamine hit when I'm listening, and it's not fair to the artists. I'm not saying it is, and I don't think that my opinion should dictate what any artist should do or anything like that in that manner. It's just like for me specifically when I consume, like I get bored.
Yeah, I can dig that. Because
You've been through a lot of music too, bro.
I'm the same way in a lot of sense. That's why my taste in music has, I wouldn't necessarily say elevated, but more so evolved to include a lot more different things.
Right.
Evolve is a good word.
Like I said, it's something where, you know, even when I go like to work out or I've been listening to podcasts, because I'd almost rather listen to people talk about hip hop than actually listen to hip hop sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Did you guys hear that in music news? Did you hear that Slick Rick is dropping a new album apparently?
Word?
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, so I think Hip Hop DX shared something that he's getting ready to drop a new project.
I'm not mad at that.
I will definitely check it out.
I check that out. Yeah.
I'm curious. It's been long enough that I'm curious what it would sound like. You know?
Actually, I'm a production. What type of production that I'm not worried about him. I want to know what the production is, because is it the updated kit for Slick Rick, or is this going to sound like it was supposed to come out 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
don't do that.
10 years ago?
Please don't do that.
I don't want that. I want it to be the updated version of Slick Rick with him in his bag. That's what I'm hoping for.
If you think about it, Slick Rick has already been through an evolution kind of like this, because he did drop that stuff in the 80s, and then he dropped the Art of Storytelling, which was modern for its time.
True.
And was super.
Well, I mean, I remember the records, you know, he put out Behind Bars.
I like Behind Bars too.
He put out I Shouldn't Have Done It. It's a Boy. You know, they tried to get all that stuff out before he went to jail the first time.
Yeah.
So, you know, Sitting in My Car. You know, so I'm a Slick Rick fan.
In my car. No, I am definitely a Slick Rick fan.
Yeah, so I know that I know there's
one
a
of
whole
the biggest
bunch
Slick Rick fans I know. Actually, is Long.
Yeah,
that's true.
I got the signed vinyl somewhere around here. Shouts to Spools. Yeah. But my point with that was like he has kind of shown that he has done that in the past. You know, like evolved with the production time. So I'm curious as well. Like
that's the only thing that will make me that I'm hoping for. Yeah. I'm not worried about anything else. I know he'll fall in the pocket. I know his storytelling's on. I'm not worried about that.
And that's the only way, in my personal opinion, how any of this works.
Talking about
with any of these artists.
Oh, okay.
Because the sound has to be contingent of what's going on now,
right? Versus
being stuck in a.
You know, we've talked about it. We always talk about the the upgraded sound or upgraded kit.
Always.
I wonder if artists that are older have to be told that. I wonder if because I feel like there are certain artists that are always up on it. They're aware and they know how everything is trending. So they know, okay, I'm going to have to go find said producer. He can give me the feel that I'm looking for. It's still me, but it's not going to sound outdated. But I bet you there are a lot of artists that are older that it's like it's pulling teeth to get them to come over to, you know what I'm saying, sounds or more upgraded sounds, if you will, or updated sounds, I should say. Yeah.
Or an updated version of themselves. Like that's
the important part. Yeah.
Right. I'm sure there's a little bit of both. I could easily see Slick Rick, I'm hoping, being the one where it's like, don't even worry about it. Let's get the upgraded kit. I'm gonna go ahead and do my thing.
I would like to hear Slick Rick over like some organized noise type stuff.
Man,
I think that would be kind of cool.
I agree.
I would like to hear anybody over some organized noise type stuff.
While you tripping, yeah.
Thanks to our partners. Dr. Coleman of Coleman Dental is our go-to dentist. He's a longtime Indianapolis arts and music supporter located right in Broad Ripple. Printfinity is a screen printing shop based in Indianapolis, owned and operated by our own DJ Jay Diff. Our good friends at Indie CD and Vinyl operate one of the best record stores in North America. Shop new and used in their site or visit them in person. And the best way to support the New Old Heads is to visit our Patreon and become a member for as little as $3 a month. All details on newoldheads.com.
All right, let's talk Schoolboy Q. Shout out to actually one of my favorite artists from TDE. Can't wait to see what this brother's gonna drop. But he was doing an interview. He was talking about the frequency with which, or lack thereof, in terms of him putting out music. And I'm gonna read a couple quotes, see what you guys think, because this caught me off guard. Not necessarily from him, or from a standpoint of him actually talking about how he puts out music. He says, when it comes to music, I don't look at it as like, oh, you have to drop every year. I'm like, no, your favorite rapper has to drop every year because he needs chili. I do what I want because
he needs chili.
He said, I do what I want because I move off peace. I move off my experiences. And there's also something where he talks about what he draws from. He says I think he's talking about TD. We never looked at the industry as a sport. You know, like just trying to put up championships and win a ring and put an album out. Mm-hmm. He said, this is our life. Me talking about our situations, you know, the ish we done been through, homies we lost to the system or the streets. It's not a sport. Me talking about my mama's trauma from her own brother is, you can't compare that to somebody who just won a championship ring. So he's basically saying, he talks about his life. He talks about experiences. He has to go through things to come up with concepts to make records, if I was to paraphrase. I don't hear too many artists talk about this. I thought this was extremely dope. Why do you guys think artists don't talk this way as it relates to putting music out?
I think artists do talk this way.
I was about to say, I've heard artists.
You hear artists talk about reflection and experiences as it relates to
artists I like.
A hiatus.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. I don't think it's the mass. I don't think it would be. I don't hear it a lot.
I think we need to define what an artist is, and I've
That's
talked
fair.
about that before. Like, not everybody is an artist that makes music, in my opinion.
That's fair.
It's not about art, it's about product. And
exactly.
A lot of these people, they're rapping.
It's about approach too, though.
They're rapping to eat. Okay, they want
their chili.
You know,
like he said, I guess.
They're not rapping to give you their life experience or to tell you anything about themselves. Or actually, they're rapping because what they have and the music they make is a product. It's something they can put in commercials. Like we can make a Dunkin' Donuts commercial out of this song.
Yeah, we just did. You got me there.
You're not going to make a commercial out of anything that was on the last Kendrick album.
So would it be fair to say that the approach of most artists as it relates to music, it's mirrored in the it's mirrored in the product? Like what we see is what we get.
When you define artists, yes. To Lone's point, artists and actually putting out the music is totally different. I mean, throughout time, people that we define as artists have all taken this same approach. Even Raphael Sadiq's last album is about his brother's drug addiction.
Right.
The whole album, that's what it's about. He drew from that. Kendrick's album is about him going to therapy and his family and, opening up scars and stories that he probably never told anybody before.
Very deep.
I mean, it's a process of being an artist.
It's thought,
yeah.
It's thought.
Marvin Gaye did the same thing.
Here, my dear.
Yes. Stevie Wonder. I mean, everybody that we consider artists approaches music the exact same way. It's not something they're just doing to get a YouTube clip or be popular on TikTok.
Let me play. First of all, I agree with what you said, but let me play devil's advocate here. Lone, I'm coming to you on this. What do you say to people that say, we talk about music being subjective, right? There are some people that may say the people that we're talking about, or the opposite of the people that we're talking about, are artists as well. It's just a different approach or a different way of thinking. They still could be categorized or listed as artists. You see what I'm saying? Like the people that, the opposite of what Terry's talking about. There might be people that might say, well, they're artists too. They record, they draw from XYZ.
Right. I'll go to my famous saying, people also eat their hair. You know, like, it's
Yes.
one of those things where, like, yes, to some degree, look, what we're doing here is we're having a very nuanced conversation about artistry, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so, yes, you can, if you want to look at it from the big and encompass everybody that records a verse or blah, 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 and just call them an artist, then okay, then that's what we're talking about. But what we are specifically talking about right now is the very nuance of what we define artistry as, not what everybody just calls it. You know what I mean? It's the same thing as the difference between a beat maker and a music producer. Mm-hmm. Everybody calls beat makers producers now, even if they've never been in the studio with somebody coaching somebody making music.
Right. Good point.
Sure, we can all get on board with the fact of how terminology and stuff has changed, but when we have that, you know, that micro nuanced conversation about what a music producer is versus a beat maker, or what an artist is versus just somebody who records songs and puts it out, or as a content maker, as Terry said, those are different conversations. You know what I mean? So yes, if you want to call them an artist, cool. In your definition, that's what they are. But for what we're specifically talking about right here, artistry is different. So that's the way that's how I would put it. And I'm not even trying to like take away from like those artists that I don't necessarily consider an artist. I know that's deemed as like a slight, because it kind of is a little bit, because we're talking about artistry. We're not talking about what's going to sell, what's going to work.
It's passion. I'm sure everybody in here had art class, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There was a handful of people that excelled in art class that could really draw and could be deemed as artists. All of us, well, some of us, I can draw a little bit, but I wouldn't say I'm an artist, so to speak. But we wouldn't fall into that artist pocket, and we all went to art class. You know what I'm saying? It's the same. The music band business is the same thing.
It's like,
that's a good one.
We had to choose between band or art.
We had to choose between band, choir.
Yeah. So I'd never actually had
orchestra.
I never had an art class, but band was that for me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And the same way you're saying. And it goes across the board with everything. It's the same way with people that really love math. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or really into anything. It's like you have the people that are there on the surface. That's why I never call myself a DJ, even if I've DJ'd things, because I know good DJs.
Yeah.
That actually,
that kind of burns me up too, that people will just wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm a DJ, book me.
Yeah.
And you have no experience.
And I'll be like, no.
Yeah.
I just don't like calling myself stuff that I don't find passion in, that I don't put a real amount of effort into doing of what the core thing is. Not what sells, not what works, not what makes money, but like the core, like what it is. Like
the whole makeup of it.
Yeah. Like I do video stuff, but I know people that are really good at video stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're the professionals. I'm just somebody that hobbies and learns on the side, and I can do some stuff, some pretty good stuff, better than most people. But I know people that are really good at it. That's what they do. You know, they love it. You know, they love the creation and the development of all the stuff behind it that I don't really care as much about. That's why
technology.
I would consider myself more of a hobbyist at it as opposed to an actual artist in the video film.
Right.
And there's no shame in that necessarily, unless you are really trying to balance that. I'm going to go back to the artist thing. If you really want to be called an artist, but you don't want to do the things that make you an artist.
Exactly.
Oh, that's it right there.
I don't know. So,
yes. Like we discussed earlier about being a podcast.
Yeah.
There's a certain level of professionalism that goes with being somebody that's on a podcast and does it all the time versus somebody that just decided I want to make a podcast and can't keep up. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we can sit on here and we can
comparison
in Jay Moore's voice, we can shake ass if we want, right?
We can.
Or we can continue to do what we've continued to do for 356 episodes,
right,
and slowly improve the process so that we're still ourselves, but at the same time we're doing things that make more sense to reach the same eyes that the people that do shake ass do. You know what I mean? So.
Because we're artists and we're sensitive about our ish.
Mm-hmm. Sure are. That's why I clap back on the comments.
Yeah.
Man. Y'all, that's some straightening right there. Those are great examples. Well said, gentlemen. Jay Moore, you got anything to add? Or
no, I mean, that's my whole thing. There are people out like, just like Lone alluded to, there are people out there who shake ass and they'll get their brand deals, and that's fine.
Yep.
Because that's what they're here for.
Yep.
But please don't confuse those people who are actually trying to create art that we'll talk about in the next 20 to 30 years. There's some of you who will be like, oh yeah, remember that? That was a moment. Mm-hmm. And then there are artists where we have actual serious discussions about your art. And, there'll be people's grandchildren talking about what this person did, and it won't be a joke. Some of you are really, like I said, save your money. Yeah. Save your money because
that's what you got in for.
You got into it for the money. So put that money away and do the right thing because, you're not a legacy artist.
Better hope your 15 minutes lasts at least a 30 to half hour to an hour or something.
The best you can hope for is in 20, 25 years, the nostalgia about your moment music will come back up and then you can go back on tour.
We've seen it happen.
True indeed.
No, it happens.
That 15 minutes can turn into an hour, and it can turn into.
No, it turns. It's 15 minutes, and then okay, you get another 15 minutes in 20 years.
But that doesn't miraculously all of a sudden be like, oh man, because he's here for 20 years later doing the same stuff and it's popular for the same reason. It doesn't mean that you miraculously become said artist.
Yeah, I mean, they're like right now, there's somewhere where Vanilla Ice is still getting the tour.
Literally what I was going to say.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that his music all of a sudden became better and history is going to smile upon it any better.
At this point, he's making a living. He has to do this to make a living.
It's just because it was so popular at one point. There's the New Kids on the Block are not going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Literally was the next thing I was going to say.
I'm sorry. They were very popular and they're able to tour off nostalgia, but nobody's like, man, should the New Kids on this?
Let's talk about them in the college.
That's not a discussion, about them going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It just isn't, for whatever you may feel about, because that nostalgia might be a part of your teenage life. But it's not something that's going to carry them into, the Hall of Fame, or there's not going to be a college course taught, in said music school about the New Kids on the Block. There just isn't.
Y'all got it.
How about that?
Sorry, we love Hammer, but he's not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Just because he was popular and, has come back around, he's performing again every now and again. He's not a Hall of Famer. It just isn't like that.
These are the type of conversations that like this in depth that we just did right here is something that is a conversation that is really can only be had in like a space like this. Or in person. Like you see online, banter back and forth about stuff like this. You can't define this stuff in this type of way.
In a comment section or something like that.
You can't say oh, they're not an artist and be like, oh yeah, they are because, they're making money. Or it's just like, okay, I'm not going to write 9 paragraphs to explain this to you.
This is the perfect setup for it, to your point.
It's almost like this was the point of a podcast.
Hey man,
y'all did. I have nothing else.
What do you think about that?
About what everybody said?
You have anything additional?
Well, I tried to point out the devil's advocate point, but there are definitely levels. You broke that down. Terry broke that down, and Jay Moore broke that down. There's nothing else I can say, man. To me, it was just refreshing to hear someone speak like that in an interview, because I don't hear that too often in today's climate. So that's why it stood out for me. I thought it was dope for him to even talk about, me even mentioning his mom and the championship concept, and it's not just a one-off. I have to go through stuff to turn it into something. You just don't hear people talk like that too often as it relates to music, especially if somebody of that caliber. Schoolboy's pretty, he's pretty well-known artist. I think it's dope to hear people talk like that.
Yeah, he also in that interview alluded to how influential Kendrick was to him.
He did, yep.
And how, about that as how he said that Kendrick will always be a better man than I am. I mean, that's his personal opinion.
He knows him.
Yeah, he knows him personally. He said, he's a better father to me. He's this, that, and the other. The guy was like, well, you were a father first. He's like, I was a father pretty much because I was around Kendrick, and, you know what I'm saying, he's rubbing off on me, making me a better person. So, I mean, it's pretty deep.
That's a great compliment.
That is.
Shouts to him. I agree. I appreciate those type of conversations that, because I think I'm going to take this another step a little bit further, is because because you and I are artists and we all know artists. We're all friends with them in that manner. All my artist friends think like what we're just talking about.
What we're talking about. Yeah.
We're all on that same synchronicity. Shouts to Pete Sex, shouts to Kenny. I don't know how many times he's literally said, I don't know, in person or just in general, he has to recoup what he's writing about. You know, like if you don't have anything to write about, then what you're just going through the motions. You know what I mean? And that's all. I feel like we all go through that stage of like trying to balance like the content world and just drawing from some place of realness that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's rather than just like putting stuff out, and it's a hard balance these days. And it's always been a hard balance, but it's even harder.
You actually make a very good point when you make the point of, you talk about our friends or just creatives in general, people that we know. Mm-hmm. That conversation does come up a lot, and you'll hear writer's block or producer block, or we've talked about when you go through that phase where you just creatively, your mind is warped or you can't come up with anything. You have to remove yourself, pull back a little bit. But the thing that comes with that is I have to find some inspiration. I have to pull it from somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I've heard a lot of rappers that I know, to your point, Pete Sake is an example. They have to come up, they have to pull away and just decompress and then find other stuff to talk about. It always sticks with me when we talk to Odyssey. How he talked about when he traveled. Right. I'll go sit at the park and just watch. Yeah. And I'll draw inspiration from stuff, and it might turn into a project. Right. That has always stuck with me since we got a time to sit with them, because it's the exact thing of what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Guess who does that?
Who's that?
Actual artists that draw and paint.
Man, that's it.
They go through different phases of their painting styles and their drawing styles and things of that nature. So it all relates.
Yeah, and also that's a lot of times why you see certain people hang around certain people. It's why certain people work with certain people. It's because there's this understanding of what that process is like, you know. And if you don't, it's easy to see, like, as an artist, it's easy for me to spot the artists that aren't like me.
Let me I'm glad you said that. I want to pivot slightly. That's what you just said is a good topic, a good comment as it relates to creatives and the types of creatives that you work with. The synergy that comes with that. How important is that to you from a creative standpoint, that you are 100% locked in with somebody that you're working with versus someone that might come from maybe a different genre or a different background, but you guys may have certain things in common? How important is the synergy part of that from a creative standpoint?
I think the commonality is the most important thing. This is one of the main reasons why I've never chased placements in my entire life. Mm-hmm. Because I'm much personally, I mean, maybe early on I was kind of interested in it a little bit, but then I was just kind of like, no, I just enjoy the process of getting to know another artist and to develop something together with them, you know, and seeing what we can come up with. I'm much more interested in doing something like that than transactional related things, if that makes sense.
It does.
Just for who I am. And yeah, I don't know if I'm even answering your question, but
you are.
But it's, you know, that's kind of the way that I look at it. I just feel like the relationship aspect is important. It also makes it really hard sometimes for me as an artist because I like to work in solitude. So I've had to pretty much kind of branch out of that. I did early on in my career in general a lot, but in the last 10 years or so, I've been even more select. I've been even more low key. So it kind of hurts on the other side of it. You really have to find your people. Otherwise, you just don't end up working. You know what I mean? So it's like, or you just put out a lot of solo stuff. So,
have any of you all been in, just opening it up, with relationships? Because in certain relationships, business, creatively, some people have an end goal and a thought process of money, money, money. And then there's other people that value the experience, and they may be thinking long term outside of what you're doing at the moment.
That kind of explains exactly what we've been talking about in the whole conversation.
Yeah, about people who actually they're making a product, they're not making art.
I've dealt with both, and what Lone is talking about feels better. Yeah, the process feels better going that route, because if somebody is so pressed about, okay, we got to get it out, I need to get done, let's get it up so we can stream, and I can't. You know what I mean? That confuses me. Like, that frustrates me.
That's what Schoolboy Q was talking about with the chili.
Yep.
Yeah. You need that pot of chili, so you're trying to hurry up and get it cooked.
And it's not just music. I mean, I could look at it, bringing down the band in the same sense. What me and Terry did, and shouts to Brendan, and shouts to David Peck, and shouts to everybody else that wrote. Mm-hmm. Yep. What we did was a labor of love. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, we wanted to curate a very specific type of thing, you know, and we did that. And were we chasing money? Sure, kind of. Did we ever reach it? No. did it really matter? Yeah, kind of, but not really. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't going to falter what we were doing. You know what I mean?
Because we actually enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, you know.
Didn't you just say somebody thanked you for a playlist on Bringing Down the Band when you were at Trees?
Yeah, years ago. Yeah.
So, I mean, somebody, you never know who's paying attention.
Well, it alludes back to what we talked about. We were talking about how people get into podcasts for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Like they think, okay, I'm going to start a podcast and I'm immediately going to be sponsored by Coca-Cola and Mercedes-Benz. And like, no.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and they think, okay, if I go ahead and, you know, shake a little ass, I can get these sponsorships up. And then like, you know, then it may not really be what I feel. I may just get on here and say what I think is going to work, as opposed to, you know, because we could completely change the format of this show and just get on here and just.
That'd be very easy.
Yeah. But, you know.
Which is why it's always hilarious when people suggest that we do that.
Yeah.
Because
that could be the.
Man, listen,
you can't get any further from the truth by making that
I've
assessment.
literally seen people or someone in specifically that was trying to do a podcast and was like making posts like trying to get them in contact with all these famous people. It's like nobody knows who you are. Right. So what makes you think they're going to come and sit down with you? Hey, do you have such and such as information? I want to get in contact and see if they want to talk to me. For what?
Right. What have you built to would think that you deserve that?
Yeah. But this particular person is like that with everything that they do. They think they can just throw something at the wall and get these floodgates of people to come in and are going to provide all of this to them without actually doing the work.
And it can be flooded, but it'll be shallow.
Yeah.
Very.
You know what I mean?
I mean,
Very
it's just
shallow.
like, you know, I've seen podcasts, you know, once they realized they weren't going to get these huge sponsorships and we're going to be able to retire off of podcast money, they don't even get to 10 episodes.
They don't even get
might not even get to 5. Yeah, might not even
10.
get to 5.
I'm being very generous. You know, be like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not going to be able to quit my job and just do podcasting. No, you're not. We all got to get up and go to somebody's work or do something other than what we do here. You know, any money we get from this, 356 episodes in, goes back into the podcast.
Right back into the podcast. So, like we said earlier, anybody that wants to sign us to make this our career, I'm
have
all
that conversation. Have that conversation.
Y'all clearly paying attention.
I'm paying attention. So
I wonder where Pat McAfee needs like a hip hop branch.
I'm telling you,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually know where his building is. We might need to go knock on his
We might need to run up on.
You want to just pull up?
We might have to just pull up, man. He might be for it.
Pat, we don't need. They not gonna give us what they giving you, man. But I'm just saying, man,
He's getting an ESPN check right now.
Yeah,
he's
not
even
on First Take.
Yeah,
every
he's not.
Tuesday.
He's not with.
Oh, that's right. He left Barstool.
He's not with
he been
Barstool.
done with them.
He leveled up.
But he
I
has
forgot.
his own network.
Yeah,
it's his
he
own
had his
network?
own.
Yeah.
He had his own. He was like, I don't need that.
So
network.
Pat can cut that check.
He can. He can. Holla at us.
Pat, what's
or do
up,
we need
man?
to come holler at you?
Yeah. Do we need to run up on Pat McAfee?
We might have to.
Pat, hopefully we won't have to pull up, man. Let's just come on, man. Let's
These are
just
not
talk about
threats.
Not at all.
They're not.
You know,
This is a
put
non-violent
in work
podcast.
for the cult. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
You're a pillar in the community.
Yeah, all
a
of that.
family man. We
Hey,
appreciate you.
What do you say for the culture?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
it's for.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that he always stands up in his podcast.
Yeah, I
It's
appreciate
always
the fact.
it's intense. It's like
I appreciate the fact that even though he's got that, he still wears like a tank top and a gold watch.
Cut off T-shirt. Yeah. He's very comfortable
I
in
was
his
like,
podcast.
you know what? Some people are just very comfortable being their authentic selves. And
You know
so
what?
I can appreciate that about Pat McAfee.
And that's exactly why it works.
Yeah.
He's the total opposite of the buttoned up.
Not the culture. I'm sorry, for the brand.
for the brand.
brand.
Yeah. Because for the culture, people can be wanting you to do stuff for free.
Yeah.
Pat ain't doing nothing for free.
and going forward, neither are we.
We do it for the brand, Pat.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
the brand. So Pat, man, we appreciate you, man. We
We be to see you to
be to see you.
sign the paperwork. Get it going. They say speaking into existence, right?
Hey,
Yeah. Hey, why not?
Hey, let me find out that we're in a Hulu documentary next week.
Man,
Hey,
I'm
man.
telling you, man, if it's 3 in a row, man, something got to change.
Now I'm going to just start watching anytime they do a hip hop documentary.
I feel like I need to watch.
We gonna show up the next place that streams us or puts us in something.
We pulling up.
We pulling up
Yeah, we
at the
definitely
office.
pulling up, and we not saying it in a nice way like we said it to Pat McAfee.
Hey, we pulling up like Cube did.
We
at
running up.
Rufus.
Some
We're
gonna
not
get
pulling up.
money.
We running up.
Some gonna get broken this next time we see something pop up.
Yeah.
Depends on who it is.
No, I'm
Well,
like,
you're right. I don't want to mess the
Depends
bag
on who
up.
it is.
Good
No,
point.
like Denzel, I'm leaving with something. I'm from around the way.
Yeah.
I'm like, take this paper towel roll.
Get some staplers. I'm gonna get that microwave. We got the
we take
The embroidered towels.
Exactly.
100%. We taking the Keurig, all of that. We gonna get something.
Oh, you guys are frozen again, man. What's going on? What's going on?
What's happening?
What's going on
They don't
today?
want me and
What's
Terry to
happening?
win. What's happening
Exactly.
there?
Once we start making veiled threats against these corporations.
That might be the man telling us something on the low.
Yeah. Okay. Mess with y'all's internet.
So there's the Polish karaoke blackface situation.
Here, we can get this out of the way right now.
You want to go ahead
We
and
can just get this. We don't.
did
have
you
to-
see it?
Oh yeah, I saw it. And,
Okay,
and the
okay.
thing is, I don't know why we still have to continue to have these conversations with white people.
Were you offended?
Yeah.
Or should Kendrick be offended?
I mean, yeah, it should be
I didn't even
offended.
see it.
Oh,
I missed out.
Look, every November 1st, there's always some white person at their job talking about, I didn't know what was wrong.
I guess because it's close to Thriller Night.
Yeah. So
every year.
every year. And so white people, just stop. Just stop. We know what you talk. Look, I remember I saw a couple years ago. It was an Asian couple, and they had on the outfits from Coming to America. Mm-hmm. Now they didn't have to darken their faces. You knew it was from Coming to America just because of the outfits that they had on. You know what I'm saying? You do not have to do this. You know, if you're going to do a Kendrick song, maybe put on. If you've seen Kendrick wear a certain outfit, cool. Mimic that.
Clothes are cool.
Clothes are cool.
Face painting is
Face
not.
painting is not. And I don't know
Okay.
why we have to have this conversation every year.
Braids, face painting, outfit. I'm looking at it here. I wanted Terry to be able to see a reference. This is.
So braids are
Everybody has,
can't braid your hair either, right?
I'm just going off.
I'm trying to speak
You
on
know-
behalf of the white delegation that
Yeah,
doesn't
I'm
know.
just saying, no longer.
You know what?
This
White people,
is
you can
super
even do
blackface
this,
right
but
here.
You know what? You think like there was some actress, like, what was that show about the women in prison? Orange is the New Black.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, she thought, okay, I'm going to be crazy eye killer or whatever. And we'd have got it from the hair. We'd have got it from the orange jumpsuit. You didn't have to darken your
Yeah, I
skin.
do remember that. Yeah.
You know, and like it's once again, we have to have these conversations every year on November 1st because people don't understand. They think everything is funny on Halloween and it isn't.
There's
Well,
there's a Kanye one as well that I saw on Twitter. Same situation, same show. And on this show, it is it's a Polish. I'll make sure I quote it right.
Oh wait, the Kanye was a white person too.
Yes, but in blackface.
Oh, I thought
From
it,
what I saw on Twitter.
I thought it was like a
Was it a
Kanye,
black guy?
I thought it was a Kanye doppelganger. I didn't.
No, from what I understand, this falls under the same line as the Kendrick one. It's a Polish karaoke competition show. I guess they use famous
They're going all out.
artists and they dress up.
Was he
and-
barefoot?
Showing feet in chat rooms.
Mhm. Look,
Racist chat rooms.
Look, the only
I knew that.
white people, and I know this is what's confusing for you. The only time anybody could get away with it actually funny, we not be mad, is Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder because he was still kind of poking fun at the fact of how ridiculous the whole concept of blackface and like it made sense there. They walked down a little tightrope that shouldn't have even worked, but it worked. But everybody else, no, you're not that clever. You're not that smart.
People were hot about the reactions about the Kendrick performance. I'm not going to quote, random people on Twitter, but I saw and read some of the comments. Crazy. People were like outraged, and Kendrick should do this, and Kendrick should.
Super woke 979 on Twitter.
Yeah, somebody like Super Woke 979, or Eggman 305 or something like that.
It's exhausting because, like I said, we go through this every year, whether it be in Poland or on what is it, American Idol or the Mimic show, whatever show that they're doing over there. Karaoke, whatever. But like I said, I know we're gonna have this conversation. It's gonna be somebody famous or somebody who should know better who dresses up on Halloween and then they lose their job on November 1st and they're like, I didn't know.
Or
like,
politicians' pictures of surface or something.
Yeah, somebody did something when they was in college and they thought it was funny, and it's not funny, and you're always wrong.
And the crowd in the clip loving this. Everybody standing up, clapping, and totally oblivious to it. Well, from what it appears.
Sounds like a warm cup of privilege.
Yeah. And
I mean,
then F all them people too.
It was the Netherlands that have that parade festival where they all do blackface, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, F them too.
So
for still doing that.
Straight up.
it's like, I don't know. I don't know what the culture's like over there. I wonder like
They do the whole,
how
the
different
Moors.
it is.
That's what it is. They paint their face up to be like Moors.
I
Yep.
see.
Yeah.
And this has been
Or
going
Moorish,
on.
I should say.
Yeah,
Moorish.
but the
And
thing
that's
is, like,
been going
they
on
paint their
forever.
faces coal black. It's not like they're trying to. No,
Yeah, it's straight.
It's not any kind of tribute. It
Facts.
is to demean and to disparage.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially for a culture of people that don't even exist there anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. Wow.
So now, white people, you have a full understanding of what not to do.
Yeah, but they've had a full understanding of what not to do on so many levels, and they still do things.
Yeah, but that privilege, you know, sometimes it's like you don't have to pay attention. So
Yeah, that's privilege, not having to pay attention when people tell you, "Hey, don't do this."
So you can ignore that privilege allows you to ignore certain things
and not have any specific type of ramifications
and they
for a very long period of time.
And they can ignore
the
consequences that people have suffered before them. That's what's crazy.
Yeah,
they can. It's like, well, I won't lose my job, and
now you might though.
Yeah, so, now and
you might get popped off on the low.
I mean, but
that's the new affirmative action.
Yeah,
but it's still
people lose their job.
It's still a level of privilege though. Like,
absolutely,
the fact that you can even
because you got to get caught. You got to get caught.
Yeah,
and the fact that in a world full of cell phones and digital photography, you don't think anybody's going to see this.
Yep. No, that's a damn good point. Just the fact that you can walk through the doors with it alone is just a little cup of that.
I mean, like, was there any part of him like, is this a good idea? Is this
absolutely? You seen the crowd's reaction?
Yeah, I know, but maybe the crowd was affirmation. You know what I mean? Like,
might have been.
And it's like, okay, yeah, this is okay. You know,
let's all stand up and cheer.
Yeah. Well, anyways.
There's that convo.
Yeah, Jay Moore said, let me go ahead and get that one out.
Let's get this out the way so we can talk about anything else.
All right, man. So I had about.
You seen the Russian?
Oh yeah, I remember that because did you remix that?
Yeah, we sampled it.
Oh, that's right, you sampled it. Yeah, I don't want to pull those up again.
They're hilarious.
All right, man. So I had a couple threes. Well, actually,
what was the other four?
The other four was
that was a three. The one
that
we
was
just
a three.
talked
Yeah,
about.
Cameron. Did y'all see? Man, Colorado was lit. Did y'all see in the game room at Colorado before the game? Cameron is playing ping pong, and to the left, back in the corner, I see Raekwon and Inspector Deck and two other people with like Park Hill hats on in Boulder, Colorado for a football game.
They was doing the same thing at Howard though, pulling up.
Bro, but for Colorado?
Well, they did a concert there too.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with a show.
No, I mean I think they were actually playing
at Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado for concert.
Yeah, it was like Wu-Tang, Run the Jewels.
I thought Cam and them just pulled up for the sake of. Well, they still supported Coach Prime, right?
There.
But
maybe them. But the Wu-Tang and Run the Jewels was definitely because I saw Trackstar's Instagram where he was taking pictures with them. So
because I mean, it just. Everybody's coming at Coach Prime because of obviously who he is and what he brings, but he's always been associated with hip hop in some form. I mean, he dropped the album.
Must be the money.
He did?
He definitely dropped that album.
How bad was it?
It was pretty bad.
Must Be the Money was straight. I ain't gonna hold you, but it was pretty bad after that. Yeah, you didn't know that?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was always in like used CD bins.
It sounds kind of familiar, but
if I play Must Be the Money, you'll know it. You'll know that one.
Yeah, look.
But he definitely had an album, whole album.
Oh, I ain't never listened to that whole album, but I definitely know that.
Does it sound like an MC Hammer album?
It's kind of in that vein.
It was trying to be in that vein.
I mean, not as good probably, but you know.
I mean, it was it's cool.
It's pretty much what Eddie Murphy wanted to do when he decided to record.
Yeah.
My girl likes to party out of time.
Yeah, but Eddie Murphy had like 9 albums.
Did he have 9 albums?
I mean, maybe not 9.
Oh, he did have that. What's up?
Didn't he record that with like Rick James or something?
Yeah, he did. That first one was with Rick James.
I mean,
it was a hit.
Yeah, I mean, it was
dope record. I just thought it was dope to Prime is basically putting it out there on blast, the relationship that's been with hip hop and sports, and I think that just could be me, but I think he's changing the landscape, and I think you're gonna start seeing more of this type of stuff happen from a recruiting standpoint and from a people just coming out and hanging around.
Completely changed the game
for sports. Like I'm talking about including the hip hop stars and the musicians and all that.
I get it, and that's nice. But he had Wu-Tang Clan and Cameron out, and nothing against them, but like he's got a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds.
They know nothing about.
They don't care about Cameron.
But it's not about that. It's not about that though. To me,
that's his father's music.
It's not about that though. To me, it's the fact that they're there in Boulder.
Well, they was doing the same thing at Howard though.
Yeah,
I think it was more difficult to get the people to come to Howard than it is to get them to go to Boulder, Colorado.
No, honestly, I disagree.
How? Because Colorado is a smoke-friendly state for one.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people in and out of there. They just don't talk about it a whole lot.
If I have to choose between going to Howard's homecoming and Colorado's, that's a no-brainer. Smoking or whatever, I'm going to Howard. 100% I'm going to Howard.
But you have certain but
that's for the homecoming, not a football game.
Yeah, not just a regular Saturday football game.
Well, okay.
The thing that's making him he's changing the college sports thing because he went to a team and pretty much told everybody that was on that team, you have to earn your spot on this team.
Which is not wrong.
We came with Louis baggage.
He said it.
And I got my people here, and I think there's one person off of last year's Colorado team that is still on that team. So, I mean, he went there and meant business, and the formula is working. And some other people might try to duplicate that, but again, this kind of goes back to what we've been talking about all night. You have to have a track record. You can't just come in and automatically be that guy. He's been leading up to this whole time. So,
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Did they win over the weekend?
yeah.
yes.
2-0.
Yeah, they jumped on Nebraska.
I do keep saying Howard. It was Jackson State. My bad.
Jackson, I knew where you was going on.
Yeah.
It's all good.
And the thing is, this is once again, College Game Day is going to be at the Colorado State game. Once again, there is no other reason this national show would show up.
No.
Just like, look, College Game Day. Shout out to the Dion effect, if you will. They showed up to Jackson State.
Yes.
did.
Yes.
There's no reason for them to show up to Jackson State.
Bro, there's
before
going
Deion
to
Sanders
be
got
more
there.
rappers and more artists next week when they play Colorado State.
Listen, man.
There's going to be way more artists. It's just going to be with sideline passes and all that.
They've already won more games than they won last year.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
if this means that more athletes are also going to start rapping, I don't know if this is a good thing.
I don't
Dang, you got me.
Who
there.
else is rapping?
It doesn't matter.
I hope nobody.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of these kids on these teams that rap. It's just not. They don't have time
but
to
you know
promote
what?
it.
But you know what? If they're smart, they'll realize the money's in the NIL, and for them being
Talk
good
to
football
them.
players.
Talk to
because
them.
Ain't no money for you out here
Talk
being a
to
rapping
them.
defensive back.
Hey, man, at this point in life, if you go to college and get an NIL, you almost don't even got to go to the league. You can
Depends
figure
who
out
you
what
are.
to do with that
listen,
money.
You can get that NIL, get your degree, and take all that money that you just got from the NIL.
What's
and do
Shorty's name?
something else.
She killing them on the NILs.
From LSU.
Reese.
Yeah.
She I feel like she signed up for a new one every
And
3 or 4 months, and she's a cold basketball player.
well,
Like,
this is the crazy thing about specifically women's sports. They're like, look, we might as well stay here. We're gonna make more money in college than we're in the league.
Way more.
Please believe she making a lot more bread than some of those pros. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I ain't count nobody pocket.
A lot of the WNBA players, she's making a lot.
Yeah, I
more
ain't gonna count nobody pockets, but yeah,
you ain't ever gonna catch her playing a game over in Russia. I'll tell you that much.
no.
Jazzy Jeff expresses concerns about AI and uses writers' strike as an example.
So there's a post where he says, so the writers and actors are striking to protect their rights from AI.
Mm-hmm.
But in music, we have an AI Drake and Weeknd song nominated for a Grammy. Then he corrected himself and updated it and said eligible.
Mm-hmm.
But he says the rest remains the same. So he's pretty much looking at it like, okay, so the writers and actors are striking, but in music, we seem to be cool with these AI records being
I don't
eligible
think
for
anybody's
Grammys.
cool about it.
Well, what like do you think there are some people that it's not doesn't bother them that an AI record
The
would be
record execs, because this is the way that they eat now. They're gonna tie an artist signing a record deal. Somewhere in the fine print is gonna be that we can use AI in order to pretty much take your likeness, and that way I can recoup more money from you, because they don't really need these record labels anymore. Like we talked about, for those that are going to take those deals, I guarantee you there's going to be some kind of AI stuff added in there. So when their artists that they have signed to their label aren't producing what they want to hear, they'll put it out themselves.
You think that's going to become standard?
I can't necessarily say it's going to become standard, but I think it may be an idea that they may be floating around.
I don't even know how like music writers could strike.
Like
You know what I mean? Like
The whole thing is decentralized. There's no union.
that's what I mean. Like it's all over the place. You know, so we talked about this with the idea of unions in the past too. You know what I mean? So it's like
right. Jeff goes on to say, now I'm totally not against AI. It just needed to be used as a tool, not a replacement.
correct.
I wish the music people could have the same unity as the writers and actors.
Yes.
But that's just my take.
So to me, that speaks even beyond just, it's like having the unity to have some sort of mechanism to fight, to be able to fight back, which is goes back to our unionization conversation from months ago.
But when you think of when we talked about product versus art, yeah, it would be nice if maybe the musicians could get together and figure something out. But they're looking at those writers and actors, and it's like, none of them have been paid in 3 months.
Yeah, and counting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and counting.
I just saw a thing with Michael Jai White. He had to get some special exemption to promote his movie, The Outlaw Johnny Black.
Really?
Because he could go, like, he basically, for him, he would have been crossing the picket line, if you will.
Right.
For him to go on and he's talking to like different outlets about it now. He had to get permission to do it. Had to be an independent movie, not go through this or that and third, or else like he would be considered crossing a picket line by even sitting down on a podcast saying, yeah, go see my movie on the 15th. That could be considered a violation, but like he got some sort of exemption for that.
I like Jeff's point about pushing the unity part, coming together. That's dope. But Lone, you made a very good point when you said how with the writers, and because everything is so spread out, and
I don't know
who did what here and there and points and all that. There's a lot that goes into
it. Doesn't again, and it's just like the writer strike. You can still put out independent stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they're not utilizing those writers. But I think it's it all goes back to our favorite topic every week that we always allude to, right? I mean, it's part of chasing the dollar. So to Jeff's point, that would be great because then you're protecting yourself against those big corporate interests to some degree. But I don't think that would even affect me. As somebody that's like in the music industry to some degree, I don't think it would like even affect me or a lot of independent artists at all. It would only affect like people on the major label system, like a Drake or or people that are signed to that stuff. I don't.
So
really...
who accepts the AI award though? Like, let's say that this actually happens.
The creator of it,
and the AI Drake and Weeknd song is nominated, and they give it away to
whoever programmed it.
That's mad crazy.
So the programmer's got to put on a suit and go get the award, huh?
I'm curious how this is going to go moving forward, man. Like
I am too.
Maybe that'll be the new NFT because the rest is, selling pictures of monkeys smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
That fell apart.
Yeah, how many of y'all got a wallet full of monkey pictures?
Because Justin Bieber had one. He's like, ooh, let me go out and get one too.
Hey, look, the idea of the NFTs are still great.
Yeah,
still a great idea. But
the execution was trash though.
I think it's just kind of the hotness of it is just kind of simmered off, but
it's not going away. It's only going to get, as we've alluded to on previous episodes, it's only going to gain more steam, and there's going to be more ways. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think we just have to figure out how to use AI more as a tool.
Yeah,
as opposed to a crutch.
As a crutch, from a creative standpoint. But I don't. I think that's where it's going to lead towards. But there are always going to be people that cross that boundary, and
it's like anything else. It's the good. You're gonna have the good and the bad with anything. It's people will quote unquote use it properly. There's always gonna be those people that I always say somebody gonna mess it up. There'll be somebody that's gonna do something that will be the total opposite, and I guess cause confusion or more conversation.
Nobody's gonna show up to these award shows if they start giving awards to AI.
That could be where the resistance comes in. If you nominate these AI people.
Boycott?
If then that means Drake, The Weeknd, Beyonce, Billie Eilish. They're not coming.
They're not coming.
You try and have a whole bunch of people on your red carpet show, and you got AI.
Well, let's try to push this so it actually happens.
Yeah,
because then maybe they'll care enough to actually do something.
Yeah, so that could be your protest. That's how the artist community. You don't if they start acknowledging AI, you don't show up.
Yeah.
I bet that
see how the ratings go, and then they'll have something to think about.
Oh, a conversation will happen if that happens.
But does that even affect the core music label system though? Does that affect the Sony and the Warner and all that stuff? Does it really?
If people don't show up to
it, kind of will. I think
if they don't show up to the award shows,
that's an advertisement for their whole industry.
You throw a big party and nobody shows up.
I don't know. Because
essentially that's what it is. Because there's a lot of stuff that goes with that too.
I don't think it affects the capital.
There's a Grammy party. There's all kind of stuff leading up to it.
The Clive Davis
that
party.
Nobody's going to be at.
I get it from an optics standpoint, but I don't think it affects the bottom line really at all.
I think it affects the bottom line from the standpoint of
they're going to sell regardless.
It's marketing. It's marketing. It's almost like a Super Bowl ad.
Yeah,
when these people go to this weekend. they're pushing product and
There's
you're
no
representing
sponsors.
labels, and there's a lot of that going on for that Grammy.
That's the only
weekend.
reason they're still having an MTV Awards.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess if we're talking specifically about awards and AI winning award shows, okay, but I'm speaking more so from the angle of AI being within the music industry itself and actually stopping the AI itself. I don't feel like award shows is going to mess with the bottom line of what these artists are making and what these contracts are producing.
It takes away
really-
the power of the award show and the whole committee and everything for y'all even
Take this under
Considering-
consideration. Yeah.
that this is something that you should be awarding.
From a credibility standpoint,
Right.
that
Now
That hurts.
now a Grammy turns into pretty much tinfoil.
yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do agree with that. It's what's the word? Tarnish. There's definitely some tarnish if you start letting this come in from the awards. How you look at the awards, it's not the same. Now we've always spoken about how we feel about the Grammys or whatever, but they're not the same if this starts to, gain some steam.
I don't know.
In my opinion.
I guess I still don't see it really affecting the bottom line of any of these major record labels, but maybe I'm wrong.
Somebody's generating some income somehow, or they wouldn't continue to do it.
I'm sure
Because at the end of the day, it
they're
wouldn't
linked.
even make sense.
But the Grammys isn't owned. Is the Grammys owned by like these record companies though? You know what I mean?
don't know who it's owned by,
Now
but
that
I know a
that
lot
I
of
don't know.
There's a
a lot
couple
of them are on the board.
There's a company called Naris, and it just
Okay.
represents composers, producers, songwriters. So there's that whole component. Because once they have that one serious moment, like talking about yes, and Naris has done this for this, that, and the third, like where they try to justify some of their other foolishness because of the good things that they do, because capitalism.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Steal all the money and then have a few small donations.
there
Man,
you go. But yeah,
10%.
I once again, it would be so hard because if say those big artists that we mentioned said, hey, we're not going, there'd be somebody who'd be like, I'd love to sit in the front seat of the Grammys.
at the AI awards.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
I
You're talking about Allen Iverson.
this is my only chance to ever do this when all these other stars won't show up. So I don't know. Because they'll start going down the Rolodex and be like, little Scrappy, what you doing later on?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I still don't.
6ix9ine to show up.
Yeah.
I still don't.
Maybe.
I can think that's probably what I'm getting at. I don't see it really affecting the actual bottom line of and how the record label industry actually works. Like they're just going to find somebody else to fill the role, and if it's not like adjusting or like somehow affecting their bottom line, like direct bottom line of how they do this stuff.
Don't ratings affect the bottom line?
Yes. Because that's one thing.
I would say
that's
so.
why they keep moving things around now, because the ratings for the Grammys but the ratings for all award shows keep falling off the cliff because of the way people consume television. Like, I don't know if people who watch things through YouTube TV, I don't know if they fill out the diaries the same way. The way the metrics are counted have changed so much, and they change so quickly that I don't, just like I remember one time people were like, oh, the NFL is losing viewership. The NFL isn't losing viewership. Like, you can't think about it. You can't even watch Monday Night Football unless you have cable. It used to be on ABC.
True.
Yeah, I think we're talking about different things because at the same time, I don't think that if Drake doesn't show up to the Grammys, it's going to halt Drake's album sales.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's not.
But that's my
It's not.
point.
But if nobody shows up to the Grammy,
I still don't think it's going to affect Drake album sales.
no, I don't think it's going to affect anybody's album sales.
But that's
But
I think it will.
affects this group of people, the Grammys, essentially.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking that's the direct correlation.
Well, because
Not necessarily somebody's album sales.
whoever wins album of the year, whoever gets song of the year, if it's not somebody that's already Taylor Swift,
Yeah.
then the interest in them, their Google searches go up, people start streaming their music. It does change, like something might be number 87. If they wins album of the year, it shoots back up in the top 10 or top 5, just like,
Because no matter what no matter what our opinion is about the Grammys, to Jay Moore's point, said album of the year person, even if I don't even follow the Grammys like that, other than us maybe talking about the nominations here and there, what we used to, I always ask or look up who won album of the year. And I might even just go down a rabbit hole just to see who said person was at one album of the year. Now you got to magnify that across the globe. I think that's a huge marketing
it becomes
tool. If you're in that area, if you're in that, that level of an award, I think it's very valuable.
well, because the thing is, everyone, like, for you to get on the Grammys and people say, oh, that was a great performance. The artist's record company, which means coming out of their budget, pay for that performance. Okay. And it's got to be worth it some way, somehow, through the publicity, through added record sales, through additional streams now, you know, for them to say, okay, for this 7 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever, where our artist is going to be featured on stage at the Grammys, it has to make sense financially for us. You know, so if they can't get anybody to, maybe not to show up, maybe not to walk the red carpet, but if they can't get anybody to perform, to pay to perform, that's going to be a real problem.
Maybe, you know what, to Lone, to your point, maybe it's levels of problem, or it's levels, however you want to quantify how bad it'll be or how big of an impact it'll be.
I just
maybe the impact is, maybe it's just the levels of impact. Maybe you're thinking it's not that big. Or
no, it's not even that. I just look at it as a small fries in comparison to like of the things that are actually going to affect the bottom line. Because regardless of who wins these Grammys, no matter who wins, the record labels are still getting paid, no matter who it is. So if you take all of everything away, people are still going to be streaming the music. It's not going to, sure, it might not hyper focus on one particular artist on this label, but instead it's going to be focused on all these other artists through other marketing stuff that they do, still related to the whatever the music industry decides to pivot to, which they will, or the labels pivot to. They're going to, so they're going to allocate that budget to something else. So I don't know. I get what your guys are coming at. I guess I just fundamentally disagree.
I mean, yeah, look, all of this at the end of the day are just some wild hypotheticals.
For sure.
But we're here to have the discussion. So that's the point of a podcast, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not here to agree all the time anyway. So that's the point of discussion. Like,
somebody actually commented, do you guys always agree on everything?
Hey, man.
They clearly don't watch this. They clearly don't watch this.
And I was like, well, we don't like throw things at each other when we disagree. It's not.
What are we supposed?
Is that what we're supposed to do?
Are we supposed to storm off if we don't agree or something like that?
I'm done podding today.
Yeah, man.
No.
All right. Is there anything?
Did you hear it? That was a transition.
That's a transitional laugh.
See, I told you.
That was it.
All right.
So much worse when you actually try to do it.
I'm going to start. Yeah, I mean,
Start doing I had to find that funny. Ha ha ha.
Is there anything else you gentlemen would like to say before we wrap up?
No. Just cut the check. Ready to sign a deal.
Everybody who's been using
Terry's
our
ready.
likenesses.
Ready to sign a deal, man. That's all.
Yeah.
Terry's ready to pull up, man. So y'all be careful out there.
Pull up or run up, one way or another. We gonna get this check.
Somebody gonna cut something.
Yeah, peace and reparations.
Yeah, man. Oh, that he's gonna get in trouble for saying that.
Definitely.
Y'all let this white man come in here and
Talk about reparations.
That's what we call 150 comment.
Is it? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what I said that was wrong.
Yeah.
They don't either. They just mad.
Don't
They're
have talent,
miserable and want to. Yeah.
let this white man say them black queens ain't got talent.
It always comes back to him being white. So I don't care what we talk about. It's gonna always come back to that.
I talk about a queen like Sukihana. Let that white man talk about her.
We supposed me, Jay Moore, and Terry supposed to have Black Panther meetings about Sexy Red and
Protect y'all daughters out there. That's all I can
Hey,
say.
look, man, I support the Black Panthers. I'm just saying.
All right, Forrest.
I didn't mean to interrupt your Black Panther party. I laughed way too hard at that when I saw it in the movie.
Yeah, because it was really funny.
Yeah, it was.
you might have started something Forrest. Oh my goodness.
That's funny.
NewOldHeads.com for all the education you need this year. If you see it, like it, subscribe, sign up for it.
Hey, Forrest was a good guy, man.
He definitely was.
Yeah, he had to deal with that trash ass woman, Jenny.
Terrible.
You know what I'm saying? Once he became a shrimp boat millionaire, she showed back up with the
We're
maids.
not about to do this.
With the maids.
We are not about to do this. We are not about to do this.
At that tainted twat.
And on that note, shout out to the chat. We'll see y'all next week. You guys have a good one.
Amen.
Peace.